Let me tell you something that's happening in New York. Let me tell you about something that is happening in New York. New York City has now initiated what has been called the most severe transgender rights enforcement in America. Are you ready for this? A fine of up to $250,000. For what, you say? First, let that sink in. A fine for up to $250,000. For what? Well, this was a week ago. New York City's Commission on Human Rights announced that it has reinterpreted the city's transgender anti-discrimination law, and the result, mass resistance says, is more radical and oppressive than we've seen so far in the U.S. It covers all people in the areas of employment, public accommodations, meaning restaurants, theaters, stores, health clubs, etc., and housing, included their fines up to $250,000 for each violation. So here's what it would actually mean. If you fail to use an individual's preferred name or pronoun, so Bruce Jenner is a guy who works with you, and Bruce now says, hey, I now identify as Caitlin, and Bruce has not had sex change surgery, he has not had any certified documentation from a therapist that he is in fact transgender, whatever that documentation would be. He's not even on hormones, but he says, I now identify as Caitlin. I want you to call me she. I want you to refer to me as she. I want you to refer to me as Caitlin. The person says, look, I struggle with that a little bit. If they don't, they could be fined. And it's illegal, according to the new law, to require proof of a legal name change or of sex change medical procedures. How about this? This is New York City law. Restricting same-sex facilities, such as restrooms, locker rooms, and showers, to the persons of the biological sex. So you cannot restrict your locker rooms and your showers to biological males or biological females, because if a biological male identifies as a female, just simply says that's who he is. Again, he hasn't had sex change surgery, doesn't even have to be on hormones. You can't require any kind of legal documentation. He's even been in therapy for X number of years. He simply says he identifies. Now, look, there are two issues here. Issue number one is, even if he was anything but a sexual predator, even if the last thought in his mind is a sexual thought, when he goes into a locker room or he goes into a shower stall, right? Here's a bunch of showers in the gym or something like that. He goes in there. He's got long hair, the whole bit, but he's still evidently a biological male. And when he takes his clothes off, he's a biological male. How is a biological female supposed to feel? How is she supposed to feel, even if the guy's anything but a sexual predator? What about everybody else? What about a child that's in the restroom when the man wearing a dress comes in and he's obviously a man and the little child is traumatized by that? And what about women I've heard from who were raped in bathrooms by men who were sexual predators, heterosexual, not transgender, heterosexual predators, and just the sight of a biological male coming in the restroom is absolutely traumatizing to them. Okay, and then what about the second problem? What about the heterosexual male predators? What about the guys who are going to take advantage of this? Listen, there are cases of this already. There were cases, there was a school in Canada that had to shut down some of what they were doing because guys were coming into the shower stalls and using their cell phone to take pictures of the girls. Why? Because they were heterosexual males using this ridiculous law, this trans-positive law, using it so as to get in and spy on the ladies. Limiting a person's options to only male and female. How this works is not completely explained. Sex stereotyping. If a company allows women to wear wigs, makeup, skirts, and jewelry, it must also allow men to do so. So you can't have a dress code. You cannot have a dress code then. That also means if you say, okay, we require that the men in our restaurant wear these outfits and the women wear these outfits. No, you can't do that anymore. Why? Because a fraction of 1% of the population struggles with gender identity. You're now going to turn everything else upside down and then hit people with a $250,000 fine? Are you kidding me? This is insanity, and it must be opposed. people must rise up and stand against this. Yes, have compassion on the trans person struggling with their identity and reach out to them with the love of God as an individual, but don't turn society upside down and turn us into social madness and potentially traumatize others and open the door for heterosexual predators as well. Imposing different dress codes based on sex, to continue. Similar to sex stereotyping. For example, if a restaurant requires waitresses to wear skirts and high heels, it must also require male waiters to do so. Or it may not require only male patrons to wear ties. The Commission's manual is very emphatic about this. Quote, holding individuals to different grooming or uniform standards based on gender serves no legitimate non-discriminatory purpose and reinforces a culture of sex stereotypes and accepted cultural norms based on gender expression and identity. Hey, look, I've never been into a Hooters restaurant or a restaurant that has scantily clad women waiting on you. I've never been into a restaurant like that. But, of course, they exist aplenty. And we've all seen the pictures of the busty girls and the low-cut tops, the Hooters waitresses, things like that. Of course, I don't like that. That's sexist and that's degrading to women and appealing to male lust and all that. Okay, fine. But I guess theoretically that they now have to hire a man. All right? I guess if there are Hooters in New York City, there probably are, that they would now have to hire men. And the men, theoretically, could say, a guy with not on hormones, not with breast enhancement, anything, just a hairy chest guy, a bodybuilding guy, then he could come in and say, hey, I want to work here because I identify as a woman. Maybe he does identify as a woman, but he doesn't want to dress like one fully. He's not the hormones, the whole bit. He doesn't have sex change surgery, but he wants to wear the Hooters ladies outfit, wear the whatever they wear, I don't know, the shorts or skirt, whatever they wear, and the top, and they would have to hire him, right? I mean, this is insanity. This is insanity. I've said for some time, I write it in my book, Outlasting the Gay Revolution, that gay activism will ultimately defeat itself. I believe it has within itself the seeds of self-destruction. It's insanity like this, backed by $250,000 funds. We only touched the surface of it. That must be opposed, and that will defeat itself.